AOC really thought this was her moment to shine. Roll the clip.
There's no discussion about gun violence in Chicago without talking about Indiana. Because the violence and the mothers that we have to comfort are losing children due to the guns and the carnage and the lawlessness.
Today, we're breaking everything down with one clear goal in mind: to focus on common sense, not sides. This isn't about partisan politics or echo chambers. It's about looking at the facts and thinking critically. So if you value independent thought, hit that subscribe button and let's dive right in.
That is Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Pennsylvania, and honorary mention to Ohio, where 70% of likely illegal trafficked guns.
AOC's point is clear. She argues that the so-called iron pipeline allows firearms purchased legally in states with looser gun laws, such as Florida or Georgia, to be trafficked illegally into cities like New York. By framing the issue this way, she portrays it as a problem of firearm supply and interstate regulation, effectively placing the blame on red states. Her argument focuses on punishing the suppliers while overlooking the criminal intent of the users themselves. She extends this reasoning further when discussing the violence in Chicago, drawing a parallel with nearby Indiana and its role in the flow of illegal weapons.
Talking about Indiana, because the violence and the mothers that we have to comfort are losing children due to the guns and the carnage and the lawlessness unleashed by those states. I move on. Every week in recent memory, we have had at least one mass shooting. This is not normal. Not only is it not normal, it is internationally embarrassing and delegitimizing to the United States.
AOC draws a very specific connection, claiming there's a direct link between the financial success of the arms industry and the nation's rate of fatalities. At this point, her focus shifts away from the weapon itself and toward the money fueling the political debate. She pivots quickly, portraying a system dominated by massive corporate lobbying and spending intended to block any form of gun safety legislation. After making this sweeping financial argument, she redirects the conversation toward what she describes as the real root causes, a move that seems more like an attempt to deflect attention from the glaring shortcomings of her own party's policies.
Important to lobbyists and the gun industry than children, than houses of faith, than human beings. Let's talk about profit. In 2020, again, more than 45,000 Americans by gun violence, reflecting an almost threefold increase from 2015. Are those statistics correct?
That's accurate.
So in your view, are you seeing a correlation between gun profits and gun deaths in the United States?
Yeah.
It's a bit ironic, really. AOC's concern about how other countries perceive America comes from someone whose own party put Joe Biden in the White House and Kamala Harris as vice president. Not long ago, the former president often appeared lost on the international stage, yet now the focus is suddenly on global perception. Then there's Chicago, a city with some of the strictest gun laws in the nation. Nearly half of the firearms used in crimes there come from out of state, which actually undermines AOC's argument. It demonstrates that those intent on committing crimes will always find a way, regardless of how many regulations exist. You don't have to look far for proof. Countries like Canada and several across Europe enforce tough gun laws. Yet the problem persists, or criminals simply turn to other weapons. But AOC didn't stop there. She doubled down, insisting she'd identified what she called the real issue, saying this.
$50 million in 2020 alone. That's more than twice the entire salary of Congress combined. In 1 year, lobbying against gun safety laws. There's also this discussion about anything but a gun, but that these are about violent people. But yet we aren't doing anything about addressing the actual root causes of misogyny, where 2/3 of mass shootings are connected to domestic violence, or the emergence of white supremacy radicalization, mass incarceration, and poverty, and the connections between that and mass shootings in our communities.
First of all, dragging identity politics into the gun debate is the last thing we need. It only clouds the real issues. Second, someone should remind AOC that correlation does not equal causation. And third, throwing around statistics without proper context accomplishes little. In 2023, for example, nearly 47,000 people died from gun-related injuries. Yet, In that same year, motor vehicle accidents claimed over 43,000 lives, and simple falls resulted in almost 47,000 deaths. Are we going to ban cars or stop people from walking upstairs? Of course not. The point is simple. Using selective statistics without honest conversation or common sense leads nowhere. Thankfully, Congressman Clay Higgins stepped in to cut through the noise and bring some much-needed clarity to the discussion.